Well, hello everyone. How you guys doing today? Leo here, the Hillbilly Files, and we have another very interesting hillbilly story to tell you guys today. Now, today I'm in Harts, West Virginia in Lincoln County at the Harts Brumfield Cemetery. Now, this place it's this little fenced area, and this is the grade school. That's, you know, the school building there. That's their parking area. Looks like we're building something, but this is right on the school grounds. And I brought you guys out here to show you something. I want to tell you a little story today. The historical marker directly outside the fence, they have a historical marker here. I figured I'd read it real quick. At least 2 generations of the 19th century Brumfield family are reported to be buried here, including Harts Brumfield, 1838 to 1891, and Tooney Brumfield, 1838 to 1894, and John Brumfield, 1870 to 1900. Harts and John Brumfield were main participants in the 1889 Logan County feud, also known as the Brumfield-McCoy-Adams-Hall feud. The families competed in timber, saloon, and whiskey businesses in the late 1800s. The feud led to upheaval and killings. It is told that the governor called out the militia to restore order in Lincoln County. To learn more about the Lincoln County feud, visit your local library. Although you might want to visit a local library in West Virginia, preferably Lincoln County. Did you guys know that there was another blood feud in West Virginia that happened simultaneously with the Hatfield-McCoy feud? The Lincoln County War, as some called it, was the second most famous feud, being splashed all over newspapers all over the United States and abroad. People just couldn't seem to get enough of the crazy hillbillies feuding and killing each other out in them dangerous mountains, and the newspapers knew it. Honestly, the entanglement of the feud is quite surprising, and I think it would be tedious to lay it all out blow by blow. If you want a real deep dive on it, we will link a book by a friend of ours named Brandon Ray Kirk in the description. We'll give you an overview though, and visit some of the graves from the events that unfolded. Now, the Lincoln County feud occurred on Harts Creek in Lincoln and Logan counties in the late 1800s. It was primarily caused by competition between county country merchants, with alliances based on family grudges. It's been called the Lincoln County War, the Brumfield-McCoy feud, yes, those McCoys, and the Brumfield-McCoy-Adams-Hall War. A song written about the trouble was titled The Lincoln County Crew. The feud began when a young man named Harts Brumfield, and we're heading to his grave right now, when Harts killed a man named Boney Lucas at the West Fork of Harts Creek around 1884. Harts thereafter feuded with Lucas's father-in-law, Cain Adkins, a preacher, doctor, constable, and school teacher. So that was quite a business card, I'm sure. As well as Cain's son-in-law, Green McCoy, a fiddle player from Pike County, Kentucky. Now, meanwhile, Harts's oldest son, Al Brumfield, was making enemies over his prosperous operation of a whiskey boat and log boom here in Harts. His rivals were Deputy Sheriff John W. Runyon, a timber boss, storekeeper, and saloon operator. Another very interesting resume. Originally from Kentucky, and Ben Adams, Al Brumfield's uncle by marriage, who accused him of log theft. they reportedly hired Green McCoy and Milt Haley to kill Brumfield. On September 22nd in 1889, Brumfield and his wife, Hollena, were riding from a family meal when the couple saw two men hiding in the rocks of a nearby hill. Brumfield was shot in the arm and a bullet ripped through Holena's cheek. As Brumfield rode for help, the snipers vanished into the hills. The furious targets hunted for their enemies. Because Brumfield was pretty unpopular, there were several suspects. But Milt Haley and Green McCoy had skipped town, instantly throwing suspicion their way. Brumfield concluded that they'd been hired to kill him, so he gets together a posse to bring the men to justice. After the attempted murder of Al Brumfield and his wife, Milt Haley and Green McCoy fled to Inez, Kentucky, just across the border from West Virginia. But Brumfield already suspected the pair because they left town just after the shooting. Brumfield personally led a posse to Inez, Kentucky to catch the two men. They bound the captives' arms behind their backs and drove them back toward Harts like a pair of mules and a plow line, according to the article. As it turned out, Haley and McCoy were just hired guns. The man who hired them, Ben Adams, tried to rescue them by attempting to ambush the returning posse, but a scout uncovered the plot and tipped off the Brumfields. So the posse hid Milt Haley and Green McCoy in a cabin and started drinking, and then sampling jugs of corn liquor, apple brandy, and red whiskey. The atmosphere soon lightened as the men began dancing and having fun. But no one forgot the two men they captured. In fact, some versions of the history claim the mob even brought Haley down to play the fiddle. But the party quickly turned violent. After separating Haley and McCoy, the men told McCoy, "We hung Milt. If you've got anything to say, you'd better say it now." So McCoy confessed to the ambush, but claimed that Haley was the one who actually fired the gun. McCoy was said to have made a confession, and at some point, he or Haley played the fiddle, either Brownlow's Dream or Hell Up Coal Hollow. They were taken to Green Shoals and, by varying accounts, cut, shot, hanged, and hit over the head with a butt end of an axe. Another story is that the mob turned against Milt Haley and Green McCoy. They started by stabbing the men. Paris Brumfield was reportedly covered in their blood. Then the posse pulled out their guns and riddled the captives with bullets. According to one story, a Brumfield put his toe at the bullet hole and said, "I put a bullet right here," and that was only the start. The furious, intoxicated men took a poleaxe and began beating the men who'd just been stabbed and shot. After bashing their brains, they finally brought in a preacher named Ben Walker to bury the bodies. Haley and McCoy were buried in the West Virginia woods, tossed in a single grave together. Once the story got out, it quickly reignited newspaper tales of backwoods murderers and bloody feuds. The feud ended sometime during the winter of 1890. Cain Adkins escaped by horseback to his childhood home in Wayne County, leaving his family to make their way out on a rented boat. John Runyon sold out to Al Brumfield, who became Hart's chief businessman during the 1890s. Paris Brumfield here was murdered by his own son, Charlie, in 1891. Some of the deaths involved are: on September 1882, Paris Brumfield mortally wounds Mont Boney Lucas in a fight at the lower section of Harts Creek. On November 15th in 1888, William Little Bill Hall kills Lloyd Dingus at the mouth of Rockhouse Fork on Harts Creek. On October 24th in 1889, the mob brutally murders Thomas Milt Haley and William Greenville Green McCoy at the mouth of Shoal Creek. Green McCoy was related to the McCoys of Pike County, Kentucky, who were up to their eyeballs in their own feud with the Hatfield clan. In 1925, Professor John Harrington Cox published Folk Songs of the South, which included a ballad titled West Virginia Feud Song that detailed key events in the Logan County feud. For decades, the violent feud became a story told in West Virginia homes, passed down as part of tradition. More recently, a historian named Brandon Kirk reconstructed the events using these old oral stories, these old histories, along with county records and newspaper articles, ultimately publishing his book, Blood in West Virginia, Brumfield versus McCoy. For Kirk, it wasn't just distant history. He is also a descendant of the feuding clans who intermarried and lived in the mountains long after the grisly double murder. His research showed that Milt Haley and Green McCoy weren't necessarily innocent bystanders. They had tried to murder Al Brumfield and his wife for money. Haley apparently had a terrible reputation too. Haley had been around Harts Creek for several years and was regarded as a man capable of almost any crime, reported the Wheeling Intelligencer newspaper. Today, we're going to be within 6 feet of some of these key players in the feud. I believe this story fits what we do perfectly. Paris Brumfield, a veteran of the Confederate Army, was one of Appalachia's most famous feud personalities. His exploits and death were widely reported on by newspapers throughout the United States. Paris Brumfield was the son of John H. and Rachel Haskins Brumfield. He married Ann B. Tooney in 1858 in what was then Logan County, Virginia. He was the one that shot and killed Boney Lucas, which technically started the feud. I'm not sure why his son Charlie killed him, but maybe one of you knows some information that we don't know. We see this often and can only explain it as karma. Because as we all know, if you live by the sword, there's a pretty good chance that you will die by the sword too. But right here is Paris's grave, and I'm going to get a little bit closer and show you guys a close-up of Paris Brumfield's grave. Paris Brumfield has the Confederate emblem on the top. 45th Battalion, Virginia Infantry, CSA, Confederate States of America, 1837 to November 3rd of 1891. Now, like I said, this is just a small Brumfield cemetery. There's a couple more. There's supposed to be 2. I found 3, but I'm only after 2 today. So we know where the 3rd one's at if I ever want to come back, don't I? Anyway, guys, I want to thank y'all for coming along with me today out here on this beautiful day and out in God's country for sure, isn't it? Beautiful place. The old buildings. Look at that. That old house has probably been there for many, many years. Old tin roof on it. Imagine the stories if that house could talk. Long before this school was built here. Thank y'all for coming along. We very much appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoyed our little story. Learned just a little bit of something new maybe. And like I said, we just appreciate you guys for coming along. Thank you very much. And you guys have a really good day. And we will see you next time on the Hillbilly Files. Leo out.